What's up guys, I'm BTC. There's 3 social updates coming to the game pretty soon. Looking for group, endorsements, and profile settings. So I'm going to take an in-depth look at all 3, and we'll figure out if they're going to help or hurt the game. Very soon, we're going to get that really big update with the 3 things that I mentioned, looking for group endorsements and the profile hiding. Now, later on in the year, there's supposed to be another giant update, and they haven't really said too much about it, but it seems like they're hinting that it's probably going to be some kind of a guild system. But we're not going to talk about that in today's video. We're going to look at the other 3 things that we know are going to be added. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to give off the impression that I'm trying to knock down these systems before they've even been added, but I do want to take a realistic look at them and point out some of the potential problems that we might have. We're going to start with the simplest of the 3, which is profile status. So right now, everybody has a public profile. But when it gets updated, you're going to have 3 options. You can either make it public, which is what it's like now, everyone can see it. It can be friends only, where you and your friends can see it, or it's private, where only you can see it. So here's the thing. When you join a group, communication is usually kind of limited. And the lower in the competitive ladder you go, the less communication there tends to be. But what you can do is you can quickly pull up the little status for both of the teams, and you can look at the other players and say, okay, this character likes to play this character likes to play that. We can kind of work around and make a team comp using all that stuff. Or maybe you need a particular character for a combo, you can quickly check to see who on your team is going to be good at that character and might be willing to play it. Because oftentimes, this information is simply not volunteered. People just don't talk, whether it's over voice or even in the text. They just don't volunteer any of this, so not having access to this information is simply going to make the lack of communication among the team even worse. So that might be a little bit of a benefit to keep it public for your team, but then there's another aspect of this, which is not being able to see the enemy team. So normally, you can check the enemy team and see what kind of heroes they like to play, and then you might be able to build your team comp to kind of counter it. But when you have the ability to hide your profile, you will always benefit more from keeping it hidden than making it public. Because denying your enemies that information will always have more value than having it public and letting your teammates check through it. Because you can always tell your teammates what heroes you like to play. The problem is that a lot of players are going to take advantage of that and make their profile hidden, but at the same time, they're not going to communicate with their team, which is going to cause more problems. So, in order to get the most benefit, you have to hide it and communicate with your team, but most people are only going to do half of that. And because of that, I think overall, this is going to do more harm than good. Next up is the endorsement system, and I don't think this is going to do anything that Blizzard wants it to do. They're trying to make it so that people who are toxic, people who are throwers, people who will troll in their matches, will all of a sudden start caring about this endorsement system. And I think it's good that there's a way that you can kind of reward your teammates for being cooperative, for being friendly, and for working together. I think that's totally cool, and it's a nice system to have. But the idea that it's going to somehow make the bad players good is just kind of ridiculous. The thing is, someone who is trolling or throwing a match doesn't care about the most important thing, the most important rating, which is their own SR. If someone is willing to tank their own SR in order to make the rest of the team lose a match, they are not going to care in even the slightest way about some endorsement rating system. They're just not going to. And to think that they would is just kind of silly. Again, I like the idea of being able to kind of reward your teammates for being friendly and cooperative and all that stuff, but it's not going to solve any of those other issues. However, it is going to create another issue entirely, which is endorsement begging. This is going to happen all the time. At the end of matches, people are constantly going to be saying, hey, can I get an endorsement, this and that, blah, 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 and they're just going to beg for it, and it's going to happen all the time, and it's going to be super annoying to deal with. Overall, the good, friendly, cooperative players are going to get some small reward, but the bad players are just going to stay as toxic and throw just as much as they ever had in the past. The last one is looking for group, and I think this has the most potential to kind of resolve some of those other issues that I've been talking about, the throwers, the leavers, the toxic players, all that sort of stuff, because it allows you to create your own group and create the own team comp that you want to have. If you want to run a 3 support or a 3 tank, whatever it happens to be, you can set that up before the match even starts. And you can use those endorsement ratings to kind of gauge how good and how cooperative those teammates are going to be. Now, this is not going to completely eliminate the throwers and the toxic situation at all, because it's still going to be there. Unless you're 6 stacking every single time, you're still going to have the possibility that the 4th or the 5th player on your team is going to be one of those problem players. Now, the thing is, even if you 6 stack, there's still the possibility that someone might end up like throwing a little bit of a fit during the match and just wasting it and ruining it for everyone else. You're never going to completely weed that out. But the looking for group system absolutely does give you a lot more control over who you are grouped with and what kind of style of play you guys want to run. And I think overall, the private profile thing, I don't think is really going to help all too much. In fact, I think it's going to be a bit of a hindrance. The endorsement thing is just going to kind of, I mean, it's going to do what it does. But I think the looking for group has the biggest potential to significantly reduce the amount of throwers and toxic people on your team. But they're definitely still going to be there. It's just they're going to be in the solo queue matches, ruining it for everyone else who happens to solo queue. And because of that, anyone who doesn't use the looking for group system is going to have a much higher likelihood of getting a thrower or a leaver or a toxic player on your team, because they're not going to be in the looking for group system either. So they're just going to be stuck in the same solo queue matches as you guys. The only way that's going to get resolved is if Blizzard steps it up and does more to catch those players, and then more severe punishments. No more of this 24-hour suspension stuff. When people are caught deliberately throwing matches, they need to be gone. But in order to do that, Blizzard needs a better way of verifying that these reports are accurate. And I'm going to cover that in a follow-up video, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. So what do you guys think about these systems? Good, bad? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitch and Twitter. The links for that stuff are down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.